Questions already.
Oh, do we already?
We're here. Welcome, everybody. We're live. Charles Cook, Jeff Joseph, and James Hollis from the Siskin and Susser firm. So it's great to be with you guys today. I need to put up my regular, my other email up here, if I could find it, at IMMPact Litigation email. I'll find that somewhere in here. You know what I should do is put up Greg's email. And everybody can just email Greg.
I'm going to put Greg's email as my email. Then they can find him.
Yeah, Greg. So welcome, everybody. A litigation update today. Jeff, I was just telling James before we got on the phone, before we got on, I actually had a conference call in the EB5 case today with government counsel for about a half an hour.
Excellent.
This is the Fong case, which we have, I think we have 25 plaintiffs in that case. And another client was just scheduled for interview, but they were scheduled for an interview at the end of May. So they gave them a few weeks notice. And again, I'm not a consular process expert in the context of, well, which consulate requires which TB test, that kind of stuff. Well, apparently Guangzhou requires the sputum test, which is a spit test, as opposed to the blood test. Now, why that's important is that it takes 8 weeks to get a sputum test result and only 1 week to get a blood test result. So if you are setting people out a month from now for an interview that requires the full medical exam and the TB test, doesn't that seem a little contrary to what reality is at your consulate? So he and I spoke about that for a few minutes. He did tell me he had to look up the meaning of the word sputum. And for those of us who spent way too much time as children in New York, we know what that meant as a word in the English language. And I think he was equally as appalled as I was. It doesn't make any sense. So for the update for the EB5s is the government has their response due to the preliminary injunction 2 weeks from today. They have their answer to the complaint due on June 8th. And we have oral argument in front of the judge on June 14th. At which we will be arguing for the judge to issue an order for everybody who's not interviewed by then to be interviewed by June 30th. Understanding that the government is working, government counsel is working to convince his client to schedule everybody for this. Now, keep in mind, there's lots, as counsel told me, there's a lot of lawsuits pending. I said, we know, we filed a lot of them.
There's a reason.
There's a reason they're pending too. And I had, he's not in DC, he's in California. So explaining why this is happening, I think was kind of was a good educational experience for him. So my Fong update is that there's the update. All right. So we should be hearing, we're going to be talking next Monday again, going over all the cases individually to see where we are and getting these scheduled or rescheduled for interview. Now, Jeff, we've got the Go case that's going along.
Yes.
And we are about to file an amended complaint, if I'm not mistaken, with additional plaintiffs, which doesn't impact the timing of anything in the case. We're waiting on the government's initial motion to dismiss, which will be followed by our motion for summary judgment and response to motion to dismiss, and a sequence of cases that go down to the July 13th hearing that the judge in the hearing we had set, but it's not set on paper yet. And that is probably because when we had the hearing with him, he asked me, kind of surprised, well, should we combine this with Gomez? And I'm like, I don't know. People are going to kill me if I say yes, but whatever. But once we talk to counsel, everybody opposes it. So we say, Judge, no, please don't wait on Gomez until Go. I mean, you should do that sooner. We gave him the reasons why. There's been no response to that from the government, and no response from the court. So I don't know what that means, but I'm planning on a July 13th hearing, right, Jeff? That's what we're planning on. Now, what that means for the DV 2021 people is that let's presume the judge issues a ruling relatively quickly, and let's say July 31st, all right? That gives 2 months for the government, whereas last year they had 1. But I think what helps us in this, Jeff, is that We sued them on this exact issue in November. For this reason, by the way, because I think we knew this was probably going to happen down the line. So that the government can no longer rely on COVID, judge, or the bans, judge, because they were sued on this exact issue. So I think we're in a much stronger position in Go than we were in the Acker case, mostly because we've set them up for this.
Yeah. Judge has a track record of how they've handled this in the past.
Yeah. So I don't think there's going to be any splitting of the babies here. So as we ask both for as many visas to be issued as possible in the 2 months for the end of the year and a reservation of the visas for the following year. Now, I don't have any doubt, Jeff, and I'm sure you agree, they're going to appeal that. I mean, they're going to appeal the reservation of visas. Now, what's odd is they haven't appealed them in Gomez yet because there's not a final decision. Mm-hmm. So even though Judge temporarily reserved them, they're not final, which is why there's no interviews in DV 2020 yet for those visas. And the government may appeal it, and the circuit may or may not stay that decision. But we'll be asking for all 55,000, even though we only need about 1,500 for our clients, because one, it's the right thing to do, and two, it's the only just solution to the problem that state created. And I bring that up, Jeff, only because of the announcement that came out of the State Department on Friday, right? Hey, congratulations to DV
2022.
Everything will be just fine for you guys. So basically telling me, hey, get your documents in to the KCC. You know, that place that's still supposed to be processing DV 2020. It's a nightmare. And these guys have no plan. They have no plan.
We have not yet started onboarding for 2022. Don't get excited.
I mean, I hope we don't have to sue them again. Yeah. That would be, really outrageous. But we'll see. We may have to. So that's that. Annunciado. Darren's finishing up the drafting of the response to the motion to dismiss for remaining 23 or 24 family-based cases and employment-based cases. And, we're trying to get the government to issue those appointments. The problem is a lot of them are tier 2, not tier 1 people. And with this fake prioritization that the Department of State set up, because it's just made up out of whole cloth, another violation of the APA, it's deciding who gets visas first. That's not how this is working. So we're fighting that. That's there. Now, Jeff, tell me about the K-1 lawsuits.
Okay, so let me group the consular cases into one group first. And those are, of course, Brazil, Cairo, Manila, and soon to be filed Moscow.
This week, Moscow, yes.
Yes. Those cases are all in one group because I anticipate the government response to all those cases will be the same, which is that they're going to file motions to dismiss in 60 days, right? So 60 days from the date that the government was served. I don't think any of those cases will settle. I think they are going to litigate them. I think they're going to file a motion to dismiss, but we're already seeing plaintiffs in those cases being scheduled for interviews. In Cairo, about half. In Manila, not as many. And Brazil, there's been several. So the filing of the lawsuit is going to move your case, but I don't anticipate that they're going to settle, and we won't have to litigate. I think we're going to have to litigate all of them. And that's because we were told in one of our individual mandamus cases that the Department of State has a flood of lawsuits and that they've drafted a template motion to dismiss and are instructing all U.S. attorneys to file it in all cases.
Which we see, and it's bizarro.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting motion to dismiss. It makes arguments like, this lawsuit doesn't make sense because you sued the Department of State instead of an individual consular officer, and therefore it should be dismissed.
And only consular officers can issue visas, so you sued the wrong person.
Right. They also make the argument that's been rejected quite soundly that that you can't sue because consulates are not subject to judicial review. We know that that's true if it's a final decision. It's not true if there's no decision that's been made, and no decision has been made in these cases. So the arguments they're making are very desperate. They sound very desperate, to be honest. But we have to go through the rhythm of responding to them and letting them reply, and then the case will get moved to summary judgment. But when we used to tell you, you file a mandamus and cases settle within 60 days, on these particular cases against the Department of State, that is no longer the case. The Department of State is digging in and litigating.
So they have basically changed how they react to these, because the volume, and it's not just us, lots of other lawsuits have been filed. Now, oddly enough, Jeff, this is very reminiscent of something that happened in the aughts, the 2000s, in the Bush administration.
That's right.
When after 9/11, Bush administration essentially said, we're not going to naturalize Muslims. It's basically what they said. And so they basically didn't naturalize any Muslims for years. And so they started getting sued. And there were literally thousands of lawsuits filed until the U.S. attorneys went to Congress and the judges went to Congress and said, I don't know what's going on at this agency, but this is like 50% of our workload. And we ain't paid to do this babysitting stuff. So this is, I think, is where this ultimately ends up as well. But again, this is how you force change.
Yeah, I mean, where I think is a little interesting in this situation compared to that is that was a policy, right? So that was a policy where they said, we're concerned about terrorism, and so we're gonna these certain cases are going to have extra security checks. And the litigation was able to affect a policy change. I think the problem we have here is a structural problem. Like, they simply do not have enough bodies to adjudicate the number of cases in backlog. So the interesting thing here is I think the government is going to have to think outside the box a little bit and be creative, because there's just simply no way that they're going to avoid lawsuits unless they can fix the structural issue.
One solution, which we proposed in prior videos, I don't know if they watch this or not. Tony, are you watching? This is for you, bud. You can actually bring back retired consular officers, of which there are thousands, and say, hey, would you adjudicate part-time for us in a video process, Zoom? You can do that too, Tony. So you could literally get caught up on the 500,000 cases that you told us in Milligan, which we'll get to in a second, that you have pending. Mm-hmm. So, Tony, you have a solution. The question is, will you do it? That's it. So just
also, the government is 100% correct that the regulations require an in-person interview. And it's also correct that those regulations were written before the computer was invented. But, the fact is that you can have an in-person interview by computer. That you don't have to change the regulations in order to have an in-person interview by computer. So if they're a little creative, they can get the job done.
So tell us about Milligan, Jeff.
Sorry about the dog in the background.
No, this is all part of life. We're all here.
All right, so Milligan is moving right along. On yesterday, we got the motion to dismiss from the government that rehashes some of the arguments that I sort of discounted earlier. It also does make arguments about presidential authority under 212F and some of the more substantive arguments. But our response to that is due Thursday, May 27th. So we are working on the response right now. And then the government's reply is due 2 weeks after that. And so after that happens, then the case will move forward to discovery. There won't be a lot of discovery in this case. We'll probably waive discovery. Because really the discovery is just the various proclamations. And then we will move to summary judgment. And I know that the interesting thing that you would be interested in is that there was a spreadsheet that the government had that indicated that the vast majority of cases have been approved, have been issued visas. So we're really slowly whittling down the Milligan case until there's no.
I really enjoyed the affidavits from the government officials about the pending number of cases, and I thought they were a little less bold than the ones we saw last year in the Acker and Gomez case, which were like, we're justified in doing this. This was like, yeah, we got this little problem, and here's where we're going. Mm-hmm. But I love the fact that hundreds of people have gotten their fiancé visas. Yes. And I believe the rest of you will. I see that coming, because at the same time they filed a motion to dismiss, Jeff, they are working on getting these people interviewed.
It's not like they've dug in and said we're not processing cases anymore. No. They've dug in that they're litigating this issue, but they've also continued to process cases at a rapid pace. So
when I was
kudos to the government for doing the right thing.
London, for example, is out through August now on plaintiffs getting interviews set. So, I mean, they're constantly, Paris is actually actively interviewing people right now. So it really just depends on where you are. Now, one thing you should know, I mean, unlike in other visas we talk about, you know, if your country's closed and you're a K-1, you can ask to go to a different country. I mean, we've told Russians this, go to a different country. And in fact, several of our potential plaintiffs in Moscow, in fact, got right, James? They got third country interviews.
Exactly.
So
and there have been a lot of questions about this. So for those of y'all that don't know, part of the context here is that the embassy in Moscow is currently not processing basically any cases. And why are they doing that? It's because there are political tensions between the U.S. and Russia. We kick out their diplomats/spies. They kick out our diplomats/spies. And it's gotten so bad that they announced a couple of weeks ago that they're not going to be processing cases except in severe emergencies. And a number of you know as well that they also announced that they've also been communicating with K-1 visa applicants, telling you that it's your responsibility to go and find a place to transfer your case to, which, okay,
never seen
not sure I agree with that.
No, I don't think it's our client's job to do that, but this gets close to the issue, James. There is no plan. They have no plan.
Well, I mean, so if they do have a plan, the plan seems to be funnel everybody to Warsaw, but Russian nationals can't all get to Warsaw. So everybody goes and makes transfer requests at all the visa-free countries that Russian nationals can get to, and then all of the consulates say no. So the only consulate that seems to be accepting Russian nationals right now is Warsaw, but there's a visa requirement. And one thing that I want to make sure that everyone knows who's listening to this, because I've gotten a lot of emails about it, is transferring your case to Warsaw. That's not a problem. You're only doing it because the Department of State is not processing your case within a reasonable period of time. You're taking action to try to make them process your case. And the other thing that we're seeing that seems to be very frustrating, and I'm sure Chuck will be able to give us some color on this, but we're seeing people who transfer to Warsaw be placed at what appears to be the back of the line. The consistent thing that Warsaw says is, hey, you got to work with us because we're dealing with a year backlog of cases. And then people who have been waiting since, had their I-129Fs approved in March of 2020 are getting October of 2021 interview dates in Warsaw, as if, they haven't been waiting for over a year in Moscow. So it seems like they're getting placed at the end of the line, even when you're transferring.
They're not getting put there. That was actually one interesting thing about the motion to dismiss, where they said, well, there's only one case that's over 2 years old. Why the hell is there a case that's 2 years old?
It's 2 years old.
I mean, I would have, if I had been the government lawyer, I'd have said, fix this case. I don't want to put this in my brief.
Yeah, right. The case can walk by this point. It's 2 years old. This is great.
This is crazy stuff. One thing I forgot to mention, Jeff, is that in the Go case with the briefing and everything, we're getting discovery on May 24th. We're getting a whole bunch of documents from the government on the DV 2021 process. That's what I'm really excited about seeing.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see what's in that bundle of joy. So we've got that. The Moscow case is getting filed this week. We're finalizing that here. What other cases are there? Tate's gone, so the 01's gone. That's been dismissed because all our plaintiffs got their visas. We are, by the way, looks like we'll be setting up an intake on what we call the H-1B abuse litigation. So if you had an employer apply for an H-1B for you, and you didn't get picked in the lottery, and then you realize, why were there 300,000 applications when, they've never had more than 220. I don't understand why there were so many. Then you realize, whoa, lots of people had multiple employers file for them. Is that legal? That's a good question. And that's what that litigation's about. So we'll hopefully have that up in the next day or so, and you can take a look at that and see if you want to participate in that process. Let's see, on Acker Gomez, we don't know. The judge is still pending. I can't think of any of the others right now. If I do, we'll pop in. Let's answer some questions here. Oh, this is so Jeff, will Go be final on July 13th?
No, it's just the hearing on the summary judgment. So basically, we're on an expedited briefing schedule to culminate in an oral argument on July 13th. And then the judge, after that, will take all the briefing and all the arguments into consideration and issue a written decision. How long that will take? Hopefully before September.
It took him a few weeks last time.
Yeah.
So I think the good news is I think his opinion's written already, because he just takes last year's opinion and duplicates a lot of it. So,
right.
Trey Yates said, this is actually a concern for a lot of DV 2021 people. The KCC hasn't processed but 14 or 15,000 people. They haven't processed 55,000 people. And this is why the reservation of numbers is so vitally important, because this allows you to continue to be processed.
The other thing we're doing with KCC is when we file the amended complaint in Go, we're going to specifically name the KCC as one of the parties. I don't think we necessarily need to do that because the KCC is a constituent component of DOS, but they're being obstinate, and so we're going to call them out on it.
Maybe we should name the director too, just in case they file a motion to dismiss because we didn't name the director, because she's personally handling all the cases at that there.
You need to make sure you put the person who's scanning all the petitions for the applications. Just make sure.
Dude feeding the scanner.
Right. It's the same person. There's only one person.
Will Go visas, again, we've answered this question a million times. Look, generally speaking, plaintiffs get priority on any case that you win. All right. Now, sorry, a little cough today. I don't have COVID. It's okay. I don't have COVID. I've got my vaccine. Generally speaking, if people weren't current, it would make you wait. But everybody's going to be current by July 31st. So then it just becomes a question of who's first. And, for example, when the Acker case came forward, all of our plaintiffs, we had 168 plaintiffs, everybody got interviews. Everybody. Except 13 people couldn't leave their country. They couldn't get to the interview where it was being placed. So we have 13 Acker plaintiffs left out of everybody. Everybody else got interviewed and got their visas. Okay, so that's kind of where we are.
And Chuck, on that point, because I know this question's coming up a lot in the Moscow lawsuit, how are you going to deal with that? So how do you negotiate? How do you talk to the U.S. attorney on the other end and explain, hey, we really want this case to be processed, but the person can't get there. How do you solve that problem?
You tell them, well, we do what we did in Gomez, which is find a different country. The government will have to agree, to open up other available consulates. That's what happened in the Gomez Acker case, is people that couldn't have it done in their country, there were other options available to them. Because the judge made them do that, basically. He said, you can't just say, for example, Turkey is closed right now for interviews. There are 5,000 Turks who won the lottery. Moscow has Russia has 5,000 people who won the lottery. You can't say, well, too bad, so sad. No Turks or Russians this year. That's not how it works. You have to the government, have to figure out a way to accommodate these people, in a way that works for them. Alex got his interview scheduled. You're talking about Warsaw, now in terms of Warsaw. But stay in the lawsuit, because you don't know when Warsaw is going to interview you. So, they may send you back to Moscow. Who knows? So we'll have you stay in the lawsuit. All right. Let's see. Alex has got a lot of questions, which I just answered. Unfortunately, the one thing we can't arrange for is your visa to Poland, because it has nothing to do with the United States government. That has to do with the Polish government. So you're going to have to figure that out with the Polish government. And I don't know what their situation is like in Moscow as far as their consulate is concerned. So apparently Alexei says you can get a Greek visa and that will get you to Poland. That just sounds truly bizarro to me. Does that mean you have to go to Athens and then fly to Warsaw?
I mean, Athens seems nice, but that seems like an incredible expense, especially considering when you're going to be in Poland for 3-4 weeks, maybe getting this visa issued. That's a significant expense that no one was really expecting when they filed the case and expected it to happen in Moscow.
Yep. Lucy, good question. Jeff already kind of answered this. That's quite the picture, by the way. Is that really you, Lucy Slim? I don't recall you being in our lawsuit. The docs, again, you're at the KCC and they stopped processing cases. So again, that's why we're going to be naming specifically the KCC in this. All right. It jumped ahead on me. Hold on a second. Let me get back up here to where I was. And Jennifer, in the Penn v. Blinken, which is a Brazil case, any updates? Jeff's ready. By the way, there's no deal. The judge doesn't settle deals. The judge determines conflict. And in that case, the government will file a motion to dismiss. But no, there's no deal before the judge yet. Do we even have a lawyer yet, Jeff, in the Penn?
No, I think what she's referring to is our discussion before about how none of these cases are going to settle. And that's not because of the judge. It's because our opponent, the Department of State, is being flooded with lawsuits, and so they have drafted from headquarters in Washington D.C. a template motion that they can use in all the cases to file a motion to dismiss.
Tiffany even brings this up. Well, here's the deal. So, for example, they filed a motion to dismiss in Milligan, right? Mm-hmm. But we have 70% of our clients have been interviewed, hundreds of them. So yeah, there will be movement in these cases. They have the lists of plaintiffs. They know who's suing them. So yes, we're not going to name, 10 people will be done or 50% will be done, but some will absolutely be done.
Yeah. I mean, the government attorney on the other side is aggressively advocating with his client to move these cases. I believe, this is my personal opinion, I believe that headquarters is also aggressively advocating for these cases to move. I think the problem is that individual consulates. I think individual consular officers have a lot of discretion over their own shop, over their own house. In certain cases, certain consulates are moving, others they're not.
Manila.
Right. That's what I believe.
Manila.
Yeah.
So Gus says his sister is around one. Oh, this is okay, Gus. This is the Montreal case that we have. Jeff is well aware of, and the government attorney is well aware of your sister's case. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll get movement shortly because she's the only one left in Montreal. Is there an attorney on the Cairo case?
No, not yet. No.
They have legally 60 days. So
yeah, we called last week and talked to this head of the civil division. It had not been assigned yet. So
Brian Hudak's a good guy. Hopefully he'll assign somebody as a result. I mean, again, I think we got a great plaintiff's lawyer. Great government attorney in the Go case, who happens to be the same lawyer in the Milligan case. So we're very happy about that. Let's see. Jeff, you mentioned a linked spreadsheet a couple of days. Okay, we don't have it set up for the Penn folks yet, as far as I know. Is that right, Jeff? We only have it for the
That's correct. Although I believe it was going to get set up. So I'll email Greg right now and find out.
Well, so James on that task.
Oh,
yeah, I think I might have a link here. Let me look real quick. I saw one last week.
Find a link. You can put it in the private chat and I'll put it up. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we've answered a bunch of these already. How long will the K1 litigation take? Well, until the judge makes a decision if the government doesn't approve of everybody by then. But we have a very small number of plaintiffs in that case, and I think half have already been interviewed, or have interviews coming up.
This is the K1 Cairo case?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think last I checked, I think 7 of the plaintiffs had been scheduled for interview, and others, I think the reason they hadn't is that they were still at
the
NBC. Yeah, so
what I would suggest, Marina, if your case is at the NVC, let us know through the update page, which hopefully we have for you. We can follow up with the government counsel once they're identified. Mm-hmm. We can't follow up with them until they're identified. But you should be emailing the NVC and say, look, I'm a plaintiff in this case. You can use I'm a plaintiff in this Cairo case. Why are you not sending my package to the NVC if all your documents are in? Now, if you're not documentarily qualified, you say, look, I've sent you all the documents. Why aren't you reviewing my case? Email them and call them. And the best time to call is after about 8:00 at night. Okay. Lots of Penn questions, which we answered. The Manila 23. This is the Milligan Group 2 folks, the Manila 23 people. I don't think we have an update from government counsel on them, do we?
Nope. And they were pretty transparent about Manila in their reply brief that cases are not moving in Manila. So This goes back to what I said before. Is I don't think it's. I think this is that individual consulates have a lot of discretion to do what they want, and Manila's been much harder than the rest of them.
I think Judge Boasberg may be really curious as to what separates Manila apart from every other consulate in the world when it comes time to oral argument in that case.
Right.
Because I know Jeff's going to point out the fact that, Judge, for some reason, Manila is really the only one not making any accommodations here whatsoever. We don't really understand that, which goes to how strong the case is. Unless you issue an order, Judge, they're just not going to do them at all.
Well, it also feeds our argument that so much of this is arbitrary and capricious, right? I mean, it doesn't. If there was a blanket rule of why this made sense, then you'd expect the same sort of consulate decisions universally. But the fact that one consulate has so much power over another feeds our argument that it's arbitrary.
Chuck, were we looking for Penn or are we looking for another one?
We're looking for all of them. Penn versus Blinken.
I've got all of them here. So let me I'll copy and paste
put them in the links here one by one, and I'll cut and paste them. What can Russians do with pending IR1s? You need to find a different consulate. I would suggest Warsaw.
Find a different consulate, but also file an individual mandamus.
Yeah, an individual mandamus will get
and
that.
Potentially go to Greece.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can get to Greece.
According to Alexei.
Joe Berg. Here's the thing with Joe Berg. We know they're doing K1s because they've interviewed some of our plaintiffs. We know that for a fact. So when they say they're not interviewing them, one, they're number one priority, right, Jeff? I mean,
tier 2.
IR1s or tier 2s, but they're still a priority. So they're supposed to be interviewing them. Two, we know they are interviewing people because we've got evidence they've interviewed people because we have people that have gotten their visas. So all I can tell you is they're lying. They're lying to your congressmen. They're lying to your senators because they're clearly doing them. But that's why you're a plaintiff, so that we can, again, go to the judge and make them do it. That's why we sue, to force that change. Okay. Grumarko is saying hello from Serbia. I love when the Serbs get on the phone. Good to have you going on here. This is one of my favorite questions to date. What about Russians? There's so many ways to answer that question. I mean, what about the Russians? I'm just joking. We were talked about the Russians, so go back and take a look at that.
We love Russia. That's what we have to say here.
Love Russians. All right. Go. Is it possible Go will be integrated in Morrison's lawsuit? I can't tell you how many times you said, I know nothing about Morrison's lawsuit. We don't follow anybody other lawyer's lawsuit. That's not our job to follow other people's lawsuits. So, Jeff, do you have anything to add on that?
I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, as far as I know,
we were very honest with Judge Mehta that there was a case, but that we didn't know anything about it. Neither did the government, by the way. The government didn't know anything about the case.
So, the reality is we don't follow other people's cases. And, if there's another judge who wants to look at the case, great. I mean, everybody can sue. I think it's awesome. Let's sue them 1,000,000 times. That's how we're going to get an answer.
Now, here's the situation is that there could be a situation where, these cases do get consolidated at some point, like they did in Gomez, right? So
if they're in the same district.
Yeah, but I think it would be highly unlikely that the Chen case, the Morrison's case in front of Judge Chen, would be consolidated with a case in DC. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
That doesn't mean that if other cases are filed in DC that they won't be consolidated with our case.
So, but it's good to be the ones filing DC with Judge Mehta. All right. Ramirez plaintiff here. I think Ramirez is the Manila case, if I'm not mistaken. New directive again. This Jeff, you just want to readdress this issue so that people understand a little bit better about the motion to dismiss and what that means as far as timing is concerned.
Yeah, it just means that the government will file a motion to dismiss in 60 days. Depending on the local rules, we usually have 21 days to respond to that motion. And then the government has, I think, 10 days to reply. And then if we survive the motion to dismiss, what that means is we've put forth a prima facie case that should go forward. And then the case gets set for discovery and summary judgment.
So it's going to be a slog. It's always a slog. But the thing is you're in the fight. If you're not in the fight, you know, you don't have a chance at any chance at this time. James Sherwin, London, Kinsley, K1. Again, Kinsley was to get rid of the bans. The bans are gone. So, you know, you're looking at a space where Kinsley's not going to solve your problem of forcing the consulate to interview you because the ban's gone. So if you want to force the interview, you got to sue them. Or, you know, you're stuck in the line with the thousands of other people that are waiting K1 interviews in London that aren't litigants. That's kind of where we are on the Kinsley. I know, Jeff, you and I have talked a little bit about amending Kinsley to attack the India ban because it's the same thing. I mean, they're not issuing visas in India because of the ban, which is, again, they know it's illegal, but they'll do it anyway. But so far, we don't have any plaintiffs that have stepped forward. I think it's a little too early. The consulates have been closed over there, is my understanding. So it's not like they're denying visas; they're just closed, which is a problem. Okay. Again, I don't know anything about Mr. Morrison's new mandamus case, but nothing will delay our set. That way we're set. Nothing's going to delay our schedule. So that's what's good.
Yeah, that's true. We already have a schedule. So
yeah, that's the beauty about where we are is we're set. If anybody else jumps in, you know, they're going to jump into the middle. All right. Let's see. When do we file the mandamus? We already filed a mandamus in Milligan. All right. But we don't have a separate London case at this point. And keep in mind, most of the people in London have been scheduled. I mean, a lot of our plaintiffs have already been scheduled through Tier 3 through August. And people wonder, why not me? Well, not everybody's first. And honestly, we all know that even though they say publicly, oh, we do it in the order the cases are ready. We know that's garbage. We know that's not true. So we don't understand. I can't give you any insight about why they're putting cases that were filed after yours, scheduling it when yours has not. This is when we, you know, once we defeat the motion to dismiss, and then the judge will then have to rule on the mandamus action. That's, if you're not interviewed by then, that's when you'll get interviewed.
Yeah, let me say one more thing about first in, first out is that we really don't know what event triggers first in, right? It could be the USCIS notice of action 2. It could be the date that it got sent to NVC. It could be the date that it was documentarily qualified. We just have no idea, or the date it was sent to the consulate. So what you're using when you say, well, we filed before them, so what? That may not be what the consulate is using for first in, first out, right? What they may be using is the date that we got it at the consulate and we determined it was documentarily ready. So we just, you know, it's hard to argue apples and oranges when we don't even know what the apple looks like.
Now, here is something that I didn't know until we started litigating Go, which is that Honduras is a diversity lottery country. Honduras? Really? Somebody's math must have been off, is all I can tell you. I think there's only a couple hundred people, but look, we know that there are Go plaintiffs being interviewed. Paris, for example, has scheduled several of our clients for interviews. I mean, Paris is interviewing people. Tier 3, Tier 4, which is, you know, diversity, some consulates have space, so they're doing those cases. I simply don't know if Honduras is one of those. I don't have the physical capacity to track 187 consulates and who they're interviewing this week. I just don't know. Could they do it? Yes. Are they legally allowed to do it? Yes. Should they be doing it? Yes. Are they? I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Let's see here. I'm not going to ask any more combination questions. May some consulates waive visa interviews? Not for immigrant visas. For non-immigrant visas, yes. For renewals of non-immigrant visas, yes. But not for immigrant visas. They cannot waive interviews. Let's see. The update in Penn versus Blinken on May 7th. Jeff, do you know what that was?
So we filed an let me think. Penn is, yes, this is the right case. I get them all confused in my brain. Penn, we filed an amended complaint to add plaintiffs in Penn, And when you file an amended complaint under local rules in DC, you also have to file a red line version of the amended complaint. We didn't really change anything in the complaint. All we did is add plaintiffs. So we didn't file a redlined version. So now that's what we have to do. So momentarily that will be refiled with the
redlining. By the way, for those of you who don't know what that means, is we have to underline the parts that we added as compared to the old case. That's what redlining is. It's not even red technically anymore. I think it used to be back in the old day.
Yeah.
So look, here's the deal on the 01 lawsuit. We only have 7 plaintiffs. We can't file until we have 25. So we don't have enough plaintiffs, Amy. You may just want to file your own lawsuit, which we know will get you the interview. So, I mean, we have it open until the 15th, but we haven't had enough plaintiffs join that. A lot of people say, yes, I want to sue, but when it comes time to pay, they won't do it. So let's see here.
I mean, you could get together with the 12 plaintiffs and split up fees. It's just that to do a mass mandamus, we need more than 12 people.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Next ones that we have an answer. A lot of these we've already answered this. So this is the Philippine lawsuit. Well, an argument being made that the U.S. Embassy has total disregard for K-1s. I mean, because look, again, all of the factoids about how Manila doesn't process people, it will be in the motions that are part of the case. So yes, we all have that. Let's see. Nepal is a very interesting issue. I don't understand why Kathmandu is not interviewing people, but they're not. And again, this goes to the motions that we have filed. So again, we are addressing the issue. We cannot force Nepal to interview anybody until we get a court order. But once we get that court order, they'll be forced to do the interviews. Okay. Peru, same thing. Peru, well, first of all, Peru I was reading their new COVID restrictions, and it's a freaking nightmare again. Every night from 10 till 4 a.m. the country's closed down, and double masking inside, masking everywhere you go. The reality is we have to win the lawsuit to really force them to issue the visas in a country like Peru. Let's see. Wow. Okay, Igor, I don't want to go to another country. I don't want you to either, but Russia kicked out our diplomats, and we kicked out Russian diplomats, and there's literally a physical impossibility, Igor, that you're going to be interviewed there. I mean, I'm sorry. That's why we're suing them, to force them to come up with a solution. Now, could a solution be that they put a tent outside the embassy and staff it with a guard who then watches you get interviewed on Zoom? Yeah, I mean, but this is why they got to come up with a plan, because for Moscow, it's a very special problem. Okay. Look at this. Jim Smith, on August 10th interview in Rio, moved up to June 10th because Rio is trying to schedule people. I will tell you, I know we sued them, but their volume is so high, it seems like they're not making any progress. But at least they're trying, and kudos to them for doing so. Okay. I did not know that doctors did Zoom interviews.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I didn't realize was that for an embassy or just a normal doctor?
A normal doctor does it, but
yeah.
I think embassy doctors do that.
I don't know how you do the TB test on Zoom, but maybe.
No, well, plus like you're Mexico, they got to do the full body check for your tattoos. Yes, they do that at the U.S. consulate in Ciudad Juarez. Milligan round 3 plaintiffs. Well, some round 3s have been scheduled, and you will all be scheduled. Just a question of when. So that's why we're going through the litigation process.
No, yeah, I mean, the fact that we're in the motions process right now doesn't change anything. Case, they're still moving cases.
Okay. Guangzhou has been interviewing. K1s, we've got a number recently that have been interviewed. A lot of our Guangzhous have been interviewed. That's where all of our EB5s are, as well as on Guangzhou. Let's see. I love these questions. Do I have a chance to be interviewed? If we win the case, yes, because you're a plaintiff, so you should be interviewed. That's how it works. That's why you're suing and a plaintiff in the case. This is a one that I know Jeff and I get asked, James get asked this as well. If you hire us individually, will that speed up your DV 2021? My honest answer is no. No, it will not speed up. The vast majority of people, and I think our friend Britt Simon talks about this, you do it yourself. I mean, it's not hard to do the DV 2021, 2020, 2022 process. Your lawyer's not going to speed up your interview. What will speed up your interview is suing their butts, which is what you're doing. That's the focus here. It's not individually hiring us. All right. Let's see. We're getting near the bottom here. Ngusi said, being requested no response. If you no response occur in June, I would again reach out to the KCC, call them, email them, become the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. As we name them in this lawsuit, and I know we've already brought up to government counsel, say, look, your problem's at the embassy, but your bigger problem is the KCC. I know he's going to bring these up to government. And, because he's bringing it up to the government and it will be part of our litigation, the judge is not going to be happy. Judge Made is not going to be happy when he says, what do you mean you stopped preparing cases at the KCC? Well, I don't understand. He's going to say, I think this is my quote, my future quote. This is my time traveling quote. He's going to say, government, is it true that you didn't process these people at the KCC for interviews? You just stopped? I mean, James, am I going to be accurate? I mean, I don't know. I think I'm going to be accurate.
I hope so.
It's a question I would be asking. What do you mean you stopped preparing for the interviews at 14,000? I mean, that is literally a demonstration of bad faith, just in and of itself. That's kind of the discovery. I'm kind of looking to see how many people I got done. Let's see. Yes. Okay, so we've got some of the links here. All right, so first, this is the update page. All right, let's see. This is going to take a second for the banners to get made. Let's see. Hopefully, the first banner. This is Brazil. This is the Brazil update page. So get ahead and do the Brazil update page. Oops, wrong button. Sorry, Brazil update page. And let's do the next update, which is the Egypt update page. Thank you, James, for doing all these. Create this banner for this is for the Egypt Cairo.
There's a lot of heavy copy and paste labor over here.
So we'll do that. Yeah, this is all kind of a pain here to get these banners done because they have to be done individually. Our next update is the Egypt spouse update page case. Go back to banner, create a banner here. Not Bruce Banner, but the banner here. And this is the Egypt spouse case. Please update there. This will be the Moscow update case, which we'll be filing this week. Let's create that banner right there. And there's the Moscow K1 case. And our last one is the Manila. Do we have a Rio one, James?
Let me look. If it's not in that, I don't think it's in the email right there, but I can go and see if I can track it down.
Let's track down. Here is the Manila update page as well. So they'll be all there. If we can track the Rio down one, we will, so we can update that information. What will happen, Jeff, if the judge dismisses the cases?
That's it. It's over.
We can appeal, of course. We can appeal to the Court of Appeals. But when we have to figure out why would the judge dismiss the case that both is legitimate and legally correct. But yeah, it means we appeal that and we see where we go. But I don't anticipate that. I mean, we wouldn't waste everybody's money and time if we didn't think we could win these cases. I mean, these are all good, legitimate cases. So we go from there. Let's see. Government counsel has asked for names of Kinsley plaintiffs. Does that mean they're going to schedule us tier 4? Again, this is part of the negotiation, right, Jeff, that we have with the government.
I mean, the Kinsley plaintiffs are all over the place. They're some of them are tier 4, some of them are tier 1, 2, 3. I mean, they're all over. So
some aren't tiered at all. They're just non-immigrant visas that aren't even on the list. So,
exactly. So,
And Chuck, you were asking for Rio?
Rio.
Yeah, that's the Brazil K ones.
Oh,
yeah.
I
had to ask somebody for it first.
My brain is always in Rio. It's not in Brazil. Not in Brazil. We do not have any planned upcoming lawsuits on immediate relatives. Andres, you would just file your own. And frankly, probably more likely to get scheduled on an individual Moscow case than on a group case at this point, given their position here. Again, if we win go, they will have to schedule it. Keep in mind, the key in go is the law. The law says that the Department of State shall issue 55,000 visas under the diversity program. Shall. Not may, not possibly, not could, shall. So that's our winner right there. They can't not schedule you, putting you as, I don't know who thought up these tiers and thought not scheduling diversity people was a good idea to put at the bottom knowing they were being sued on this. I mean, either that's a remarkable display of hubris or incompetence. It's definitely one of the two.
Stephen Miller's last memo.
Maybe there's a Miller implant at the state's legal department. I don't know. Number of plaintiffs in the Go case currently are 680 plus whoever many we add this week. I don't have that number. I don't think you have it either on top of your head. Do you, Jeff? I think that Aaron's got that. No. We'll let everybody know when that's coming. Information on Frankfurt. We did have a Frankfurt visa issued for Sven Olinsky, one of our other plaintiffs this last week. And Frankfurt just came out maybe today. I think it was this morning and said, yeah, we're only issuing immediate relatives. They're only issuing E's or something. It was kind of a bizarre statement. So as far as I know, they're not issuing DVs. They're a tier program, but I mean, that's why, again, it's why we're suing and why we don't track every single consulate in the lawsuit. Christian, we are not listing, you are not disadvantaged by only having one of you in your lawsuit. It's okay. I mean, there are some people that cannot be listed because of their job. Might be the U.S. government, it might be the U.S. military, but that's not a problem. Don't worry about that. Okay. And again, we don't track individual consulates. We just have no ability to do that.
But you can do it yourself. I mean, you can Google non-immigrant visa statistics, and they track them by month. So you can go in and see how many visas were issued in Jordan in February and March.
What you do is you Google CEAC, which is the State Department statistical page, non-immigrant visa statistics, and it'll come right up. Boom. Come right up by month. All right. Let's see. Would people who transfer to Warsaw be transferred to another consulate if Warsaw's not going to interview you anytime soon, then the goal is to get to somewhere else. So yes, that's why you stay in the lawsuit. Now, if a person is issued a 221G, that's apart from the lawsuit. That is a visa issue that we're not litigating. 221G, there's a lot of reasons a 221G could be issued. You might not have all the right documents. You might have an issue with admissibility. You might have a background check issue. You might have a name check. Lots of reasons a 212G comes down on you. I think they meant 221G.
Right, yeah. In the context of K1s, I have seen a lot of people who have gotten 221G refusals because they had previous marriages that are being investigated by the consulate, or they petitioned for spouses in the past. So, there's a lot of reasons for 221G. It's just an investigation. Yeah,
and some consular officers don't think it's a real relationship. They think the relationship is fake. We see this all the time. It's Manila. that they do this. I mean, that's they consider themselves a high fraud post, so they make it a high fraud post by putting impossible standards on people's ridiculous standards on people's relationships. So they mean literally a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let's see. Again, well, Bravo, if you can get 100 plaintiffs to sue Aman, you let me know, and we'll be happy to go after that. Let's see. I think that pretty much does it for today. Our time is up anyway. We've answered a lot of the other questions. We want to thank everybody. I think Greg, but we didn't excuse Greg. Greg is actually presenting on an Asian immigration panel for immigration lawyers today at this time. And so we excuse Greg. We have James's lovely presence with us. And again, tomorrow is Sisk and Susser at 7 p.m. On Facebook or Twitter. I forget what you do, James.
It's on Facebook, but I'm sure that the link will be posted on Twitter as well.
Great. And Wednesday, I will be at 3. I'll be at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock this Wednesday on my Facebook Live page. Jeff, you have Thursday at noon.
Thursday at noon, Denver time, 2 o'clock Eastern.
Awesome. And then Friday, we've got, I forget who's doing it this week in my firm, but probably Spanish. So thank you, everybody. It's been awesome. And we'll see you next week on our next IMMPact Litigation Update. Have a great week.